So in the last session we discussed about P2P cycle, means procure to pay cycle, and O2C. Okay. We discussed about these two cycles. These two cycles related spreadsheet I'll place in the Google Drive. Maybe after 1 or 2 sessions, we'll create the Google Drive and we'll place all the videos in the Google Drive and we'll share the drive access to you. You can download those videos. Along with that, what are the sheet we are using for our class discussions? This sheet also I'll place in the drive itself. Along with that, the P2P and O2C cycles, whatever we just discussed with our applications, how those are connected, what are the transactions we record in which applications. So whatever we discussed, that content also, that file also I'll place in the drive. So today we'll talk about few topics. We'll discuss about what is instance and what is ERP, how to create user in Oracle Fusion, and if time permits, we'll talk about what is FSM. So let's plan to understand these topics today. The first point is what is instance. So we discussed as a part of P2P and O2C cycles how Oracle is providing different applications for each department. So for purchasing, they are providing Oracle Fusion purchasing. For payables, they are providing Oracle Fusion accounts payable application. For receivables department, Oracle Fusion accounts receivable. So that's how we discussed different application names which can be used by which department. And we discussed few other points related to SaaS and PaaS. You may take SaaS subscription or PaaS subscription. How you get access to that product? Oracle will give the access to the subscribed application. Say you subscribe financials and SEM. Okay, as a company, you subscribe financials and SEM from Oracle and you opted for SaaS subscription. Now, how do you get access? How do you get access to these financials and SEM, or if you take subscription for all, how do you get access? What Oracle will do is, Oracle will provide instance. Okay. Oracle will provide instance. Within the instance, what are the applications you are subscribing, or what are the product families you are subscribing, all you can see within that instance. Okay, within that instance you can see all. So you can see AP, accounts payable, whatever you are subscribing, all you can see. The AR, account receivables. Okay, CM, cash management, FA, GL, and INV, TO, OM. This is how you can have applications as a part of instance, and within the same instance, so instance itself, virtual server we discussed. Oracle will provide access to virtual server. That means you'll get virtual instance. Within that, there will be database also. Okay. within the same instance, you'll have a database. This instance can be used by one or multiple countries. Say client is doing the business in 10 countries. Yes, 10 countries can use the same instance. For each country, how they are doing the business, accordingly we can do the setups. As a consultant, we do the implementation. What exactly meaning of implementation setups, we will understand very soon. So Oracle provides instance for the clients, the companies who are taking the subscription. Within that instance, what you can find? We can find the applications. What does it mean by application? Already we discussed, right? Application means, so there will be certain pages and reports, those are connected with the database. The same we are discussing here. So there will be different applications, and to support and to store the application data, there will be database. Those all will be in the one single environment that we call as an instance. Okay. Instance means the software package which contains the applications and the database. One instance we can use for multiple countries. Okay, one instance we can use for multiple countries. When we take the subscription from Oracle, how many instances Oracle is providing? Okay, how many instances Oracle is providing? By default, Oracle is providing 2 instances. For any company, Oracle is providing 2 instances. Why Oracle is providing 2 instances? Okay, why Oracle is providing 2 instances? There is some reason. When you do the implementation for any company, okay, first we have to test everything. Okay, we have to test everything. Say payables department. Okay, what different type of invoices they are recording, how they are processing the payments. Okay, those all we have to verify in this Fusion accounts payable application. Okay, they might be using some other system, and in Fusion applications, whatever the business process they are following as per their business, that can be implemented or not, we have to test everything. We have to create everything in the one instance, and we have to check, and we have to show to the client. They have to say okay. Once they says okay, then we can do the same in the other instance. The other instance client will start using. So based on the purpose, this we call as a one instance we call as a test instance. The other instance we call as production instance. Okay. One instance we call as test. One second. Don't mind. I'll give you the time. Explain few points. Let me explain few points. You can go ahead with your questions. Just give me some time. Okay. Production instance. So when you take the subscription from Oracle, it could be SaaS or PaaS, we get 2 instances. One instance for testing purpose that we call as test instance. Other instance is production purpose. Okay. What does it mean by test instance? So how client is doing the business, that we have to verify. Okay, how they are recording the transaction. If you take example of payables, the invoices what they are creating as per their business, or you may call as vouchers. You can stop calling as invoices, and payables, whatever the invoices we record, you may call as vouchers. How invoices can be created, how payments can be processed, how suppliers we can create, how we can create the bank accounts, how we can generate the reports. These all we have to test once, whether those are working in this instance or not as a part of payables. In the same way in receivables also we have to test. whether sales invoices we are able to create or not. We are able to create the receipts, and we are able to create the customers, and we are able to generate the reports and receivables. We have to test. Before testing, in the test instance, we have to set up that payables receivables applications. If you want to create invoices and payments in the payables application, we have to do some setups. Okay, what does that mean by setup? Means creating the suppliers, creating the bank accounts, creating few other things which supports to run the payables process. Okay, which supports to run the payables process. Those all we have to create. To create the transactions, whatever we have to complete, those we call as setups. So in the test instance, first we do the setups. After doing the setups, we test how the transactions we are able to create. Is there any issue with those transaction creation process, or smoothly we are able to create or not? We test first. After testing, what we do is we have to show to the client. We have to show to the client who are going to implement these Fusion applications. We have to show to the client, like, so this is how you can create the supplier in the payables. This is how you can create the invoices in the payables. This is how you can create the payments in the payables. This is how you can create the bank accounts in the payables. And this is how you can generate the reports. This is how we have to show to the client. We have to present to the client how they can record the business transactions by using the Fusion applications. When we present to the client, client says, I don't need this information, I don't want to enter, or else I want to enter some additional details, this and that. There will be some sort of discussions that will make a note and will try to find out the solution. And finally, we have to take the acceptance from the client. So how real implementations can be executed, what process we follow and all, and take 1 or 2 sessions so that you can understand. For now, you don't need to focus on this. Just focus on what we are discussing. Okay, focus on what we are discussing. Right? So when we are going to do the implementation for any company, first we use test instance only. We never touch production in the initial stage. Okay, we get access to test instance. Within the test instance, we have to test. We have to test everything is working fine as per the Oracle products. Whatever the functionality they are giving, whatever the features Oracle is providing, those are working or not, we have to test. Say in accounts payables, Oracle is providing 20 features. Take simple example. Oracle is providing 20 features. But as per business, as per client, they need 10 only. Now we have to test 10 only. You don't need to test 20 features which Oracle is providing. Client or company required only 10 features. So now what we have to do is we have to set up accounts payables and we have to test those 10 features. Okay, then those 10 only will show to the company or client. So this is how you can use these 10 features as per your business. First we set up, then we'll test and we'll present. For that purpose, we use the test instance. Okay, in the test instance, what we do is we do the setups. For each and every application, we'll keep ready. Setting up means we'll keep ready the instance application. Then we'll perform the testing. We'll test whether we are able to create invoices and payments and bank accounts and suppliers, etc., etc. We have to verify, we have to check. After testing, we will do the presentation. Okay. As per implementation, the presentation, what we call and all, we'll discuss. Okay. Just as of now, take as a, we have to give the presentation to the client. Then we have to take the approvals from the client, or say acceptance. Client has to say, okay, we are okay to record invoices like this. We are okay to record the payments by following this process. That's how they have to give the acceptance to everything. So typically this is what we do in the test instance. We set up as per the business, how they are running the business, that environment we create in the test instance. what we call creating that environment and all, we'll discuss very soon. So their business environment will create an instance, and we do the testing whether that is working fine or not. If it is working fine, we give the presentation to the client company who are going to use this Fusion applications, and finally we take the approvals from them. Once this is done, finally once everything is finalized, all their business requirement is finalized, then we do the setup in the production instance. Then no testing, nothing we do in the production instance. Okay, just we do the setups. Then client will start using. Okay, client will start using. Okay, companies will start using by recording their day-to-day business transactions. As a part of implementation process, I'll discuss more detail level. At this stage, this information is enough for us to understand, okay, what is the difference between test instance and production instance. Okay, production instance is used by client to record their business transactions. As a consultant, initially we'll start working on test instance only. We do the setups as per their business process, and we do the testing by recording the transactions. And if everything is working fine, we give the presentation to the client and we take the acceptance. If they says we need so and so, that also we set up and we test and we present. And finally, we have to take the approvals from the client saying that we are happy with this, the payables or receivables product which you are going to provide, the functionalities or features which are available as per this. They have to say okay. Once they say okay, we move to production. Okay, finally we move to the production and we do the setup. Then client will start using. They can start entering the invoices and payments. We never do any testing and all in the production instance. So this is how we can have. And if some client is going to use, say they are going for pass. Pass means we can do the customization. This test instance itself we can use for customizations also. Okay, by using this test instance, you can do all these. Along with that, you may use the test instance for the purpose of customizations. Okay, within the test instance itself, you can create the new pages, new reports, and some other customization related activities you can do within this. Or else, what we can do is we can get one more instance. We can get one more instance from Oracle. For that, Oracle can charge extra. When you take the SaaS or PaaS subscription, ideally you get these two instances, test instance and the production instance. Test instance itself you can use for development purpose also. Development purpose is nothing but doing customizations. Okay, doing customizations we call as a development. Development means we are developing something. We are creating something which is not available in this instance. That may be some pages, or altogether you may create some new application also as per your business requirement. Those also you can do within the same. Or else some clients, what they do is, if they are going to do many customizations, if they are a PaaS customer, if they take PaaS subscription, if they are going to do many customizations, many pages, okay, many reports, many definitions they are going to do, many customizations they are going to do. If they are going to do, what they do is, they get one more instance from Oracle. For that they pay extra. The additional instance, whatever they get, okay, the additional instance, whatever they get, that we call as test instance. Sorry, the additional instance, whatever we get, that they use for production, they use for development purpose, customization purpose. That instance we call as development instance. Okay, they can get one more instance called as development instance. So they use that for development purpose. Take that here. Fine. That instance we call as development instance. Now I'll name it as for this. Okay, development instance. Now let's call this as a production. Fine. So this you can call as a production. So production instance, what we do? We do the setup. That's all. Then client will use this production instance to record the transactions. Okay. Okay. You can record the real business transactions. So test instance to test everything, how what client is doing, how client require this applications, we set up and we test, we present, we take the approvals. When you talk about development instance, this instance company can use only for development purpose. Why they go for separate development instance? If they are going to do the developments in this test instance, the testing may be disturbed. Something may go wrong because they create some new pages, they add somewhere, if they do some mistake, our test instance can get disturbed. That's the reason ideally they can go for separate instance called as development instance. But remember, we get only two instances from Oracle. One anyway we have to use for production purpose. Other one by default we use for testing. If any customizations are there, you can do the customizations and you can test the customizations also in the test instance itself. Or else you can go for development instance. The development instance can be managed by technical team, not by us. In the development instance, the technical team performs the developments. Okay, they do all the developments, they do the testing, they create some custom components. Custom components means creating the pages, creating the reports, and creating the integrations also. Okay, connecting one instance with another instance, connecting one application with another application, we call as integrations. We discussed already. Say some XYZ application they want to connect with accounts payable or accounts receivables or GL. So connecting some other than Oracle applications, any other applications we are going to connect with these applications. Okay, that we call as integration. That integrations also they do and they do the testing. However, we are testing the functionalities whatever available from these different applications. In the same way, what are the developments, what are the customizations technical people are going to do, they do the testing. Here what they do, they create the customizations. Okay, they do the customizations and they do the testing. What are the customizations they are doing, those are working or not, they have to test it. So once our testing is done, presentations, approvals are done, once the customizations and everything is done, then here we'll just do the same setups and the customizations what they created, those customizations they'll move to production. Okay, they created new 10 pages, 10 new pages they created. That's how the business required those 10 pages. They create those 10 pages in the development instance, they test it. If everything is working fine, those 10 pages they'll move to production instance. So finally, so after doing the setup, client will start using those applications, including those custom pages which are created by technical team. And here development instance, in short you can call as dev instance also. Short. Okay, the prefix we are taking, instead of calling as a development instance, you can call as a dev instance. The production instance, instead of calling it as a production, you can call as prod. Okay, prod instance. Test we call as a test instance only, and depending on the other purposes, we can use some different names also. Those names I will introduce when we talk about the real-time implementation process and all. Okay, we'll have sessions on that, how implementations can be executed. We'll discuss there and talk about what other names you may use for the instance. But by default, so this is what we have to understand, the instances which we use. Okay, identity, test and production we use. If any client wants to use the development instance separately, for that they have to pay extra to Oracle, they can get. Otherwise, in most of the implementations, you see test and do production. When we start with the implementation, we get access to test instance only. On the test instance, you do the setup and testing, presentation, approvals, everything once we done. Say if implementation is say 6 months or 8 months, for example, if implementation duration is 8 months, almost 5 to 6 months, we'll keep working on the test instance only. Maybe the final stage of 1 to 2 months, we'll start working on the production instance. We do the setups and we load the data, what data, etc. We'll discuss later, and then client will start using. So this is how it works. Now, any questions from your end to understand the same, please?
Yeah, hi. Good morning.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, good morning. Please.
My question is like, first of all, we worked on testing instance, and let's say for first 5 or 6 months, we have done so many entries. And after the testing, we find that, okay, our testing is good and we should move to production now. So all those entries need to be re-entered on the prod, or the same entries could be moved to the prod? Or
Those
how?
are not real entries, right? For testing purpose, we did. We never move that. Only setups. What are the setups we did? Those we do in the production. Okay, no entries we have to move. In the test instance, what we do for just testing purpose, you can enter some dummy data. Okay.
Right.
That is the reason you never move any data from here, transactional data from here to here. See, in payables, you create invoices and payments. In receivables, you create transactions and receipts. In cash management, you maintain the bank accounts and you do the reconciliations. Here, you create assets and you calculate depreciation, right? So these are all to verify whether that product is working or not. Okay. The client is happy to record the transactions by following the process which is available or not. For that purpose only we are testing. So we never need testing related data to production. Okay, only in this here, what are the setups we did? Those setups you can move to production. There is separate process. We will discuss in our classes also. Or else, what are the setups you did here? You can leave those setups here only. Okay, here you can start doing the setups again. We don't move any other than setups. We don't move any data from here to here. If you don't want to move, you don't do any setups here. Okay, transactions data, what we have here, that is testing data. Okay, not real data. The real data, they'll start entering here in the production.
Yeah, actually, first 3 sessions I have missed. I have joined today only. So I have got 1-2 questions from previous sessions. So shall I ask now?
We'll see the end of the session, not now. Okay.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Any other?
I have a question on the instance. Yeah, I have a question on the instance time. Right? So in the some time back, you are explaining that. So suppose the company has operations in different countries, right, and which follow different times. On-premise, we have a server time, and it will be shown the same in every country. But here in cloud, is it different or same? For example, in India, it is 9 o'clock in the morning, and in US, it is say 6 o'clock in the evening. Will it show 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock for those people, or it will be central time?
No. See, you can set time zone. You can set in the system. Apart from that, user time zone also you can set. The users who are working from India, what time zone is applicable? US time zone, that you can set up so that the users who are working from which country, that time only it would get displayed.
Okay. It is displayed, but in the back end, in the tables, it will be stored as same time or different times.
Same.
Same time. Okay.
There will be issues. Okay.
One quick question.
Fix accordingly the user is creating from where, what is the time and all, accordingly it will get stored. See, India users will work for India only. US users can work for US. That's how. So accordingly the data would get stored. That option they given to set up which country users, what time zone should be applicable whenever they are creating the transactions, whenever they are storing the data, the single database. So that can be managed. That option is available. I'll take you through when we are working on the system. I'll show you that.
Okay. Thank you.
One quick question was to transfer this setup information from test to dev or to prod. Is there any export utility, export import utility, or it has to be done manually?
Yeah, they are giving an option, okay, that we call as configuration packages.
Okay.
It extracts the data from one instance and it will create the file. The file you can upload in the targeted instance so that the same setup would get created in the targeted instance.
Okay. Thank you.
Call it as a configuration packages. Now it is so early to discuss, but anyway, you have a question, right? So I'm giving the name configuration packages. By using the concept called as configuration packages, you can extract the setups from one instance and it will create the data file. With the setups, it will create the file. The file you can upload in the another instance so that in that instance the same setup will be ready.
Okay.
Right. Any other questions? Any other questions to understand this, please? Right. So when we are working for any company, okay, any client, this is what we get to know. And apart from that, what Oracle is doing is, okay, for training purpose, Oracle is providing one instance. Okay, Oracle is providing one instance. When we are learning the product, Oracle is providing one instance. Okay, that instance we call as ideally Vision instance. Okay, for training, okay, so education purpose, Oracle is providing the Vision instance. How Vision instance is different from other instances? You take any instance which Oracle provides for clients. In all these instances, there won't be any sample data. Okay, no sample data you can find within this. Okay, no sample data you can find within this. But in case of Vision, there will be sample data. Okay, Vision instance Oracle is providing with sample data. Sample data. In this instance, okay, so let me copy this. Oracle is providing Vision instance with the sample data. With the Vision instance, if you go to AP, accounts payables, within the accounts payables, you can see all the setups are already Oracle completed. And we can find invoices data and payments data, and suppliers data, and bank accounts data, everything you can find. That means they created sample data. In the same way in AR also, in account receivables also. Okay, in account receivables also, you can find the sample data. You can find the customers, you can find the transactions, means sales invoices, receipts, etc. So that's the difference between Vision instance and other instances, remember. Okay, these instances ideally we call as a fresh instances. There won't be any sample data. Within these instances, only you can find these products. Okay, this APR, this we can call as applications or modules, or you can call as products also. AP is one product in financials, AR is another product. Okay, so in these applications, whatever the instances we get for any client, those instances we call as fresh instances. The fresh instance means there won't be any sample data. only you can find the products. You have to set up. If you want to test, you have to test. Otherwise, set up and use for the business. Or else you may do the developments. Okay. So these are the points we have to understand. When you get access to Vision instance, ideally Oracle won't provide Vision instances for any clients. Oracle provides Vision instances for their partners. Now take example of IBM. IBM is Oracle partner to do the implementations for the clients. So Oracle can provide Vision instance to IBM. If you are working for IBM, you can get access to Vision instance maybe to practice or for some other purposes. Say IBM is going to do the implementation for their client called as X. The client called X will get access to these instances, fresh instances only. Okay, so that's how it works. So ideally, Oracle never provides Vision instances for their clients, only for their partner. They have to learn, they have to provide the trainings to their consultants or teams, okay, consulting team. For that purpose, Oracle provides Vision instances, not for their clients. Okay, this is another point we have to notice. Any questions here, please? Fine, no questions. That's all about instances. Okay, what does it mean by instance? Instance is nothing but a software package which Oracle provides to their customers or clients, which can be configured, means which can be set up. We can set up those and we can use, depending on what purpose you are using the instance, you can take the action on that. If you are using the instance for testing purpose, do all this. If you are using the instance for development purpose, you do the customizations and you do testing. So if you are going to use the instance for production purpose, okay, we set up, then client will start using the instance. When client will start using this instance, always we maintain these instances also. In future, if client is facing some issue in this, okay, here we have to verify. Really they are facing issue with because of what reason, etc. We have to verify for validation. Okay, so all the time we'll maintain these instances also. In future, if they want to have some new other page also that need to be developed here, from here to that can be moved to this production. So parallelly we use all these instances. Okay, once client will start using this production, we are not going to stop these instances. These instances also we can use. Okay, what purpose we use? If anything wrong, we can test in this and we can justify what's wrong, how that should be done. For validation purpose, these instances can be used. This any new developments, new customizations need to be done as per business requirement. Because always we do in the development instance and we test. Then if everything is fine, that development, the page, the report, or some interface, or etc., that we can move to this production. Okay, so whatever we use at the time of implementation, mostly the same instances will use as a ongoing activities what we do in the production instance. In productions, always we record the transactions and we generate the reports. That is the real business data. So along with the production, we have to maintain the test and development. So there are many other points you have to understand related to these instances and all. I'll discuss when we go through this implementation process and all. There we can come across the different points. Based on those, we will discuss about this other points which are related to these instances. Okay, done. And now we'll talk about what is ERP. Okay, what is ERP? Okay, so the point is, what is ERP? Enterprise Resource Planning. Okay, so these are the points you have to notice when you talk about ERP products. Those will have these features. Okay, First point is ERP is a software product, and you can manage your business processes, the day-to-day business transactions, and those will have inbuilt integrations. That means, so these applications in P2P and O2C, whatever we have seen, those are connected. Okay, those are connected. This we call as inbuilt integrations. Once we get these products from Oracle, you don't need to connect with the help of technical team. By default, they are connected. If you have a purchase order information or receipt information in the purchasing application, that you can access from accounts payables to create the purchase invoice. Okay, if you have payments information in accounts payables, automatically the data you can get into cash management, and the purchase invoice related to asset purchase, that information, based on that information, you'll be able to create fixed assets in the assets application. That's how this we call as inbuilt integrations. Apart from that, if you want to connect some ABC application, which is not from Oracle, third party application with the GL or AP or AR, any other application, if you want to connect, yes, that is also possible. That flexibility you can see only in case of ERP products. Okay, that's what I mentioned, the point, inbuilt integration. Okay, that means what are the products we are going to get from Oracle based on the business, how real communication takes place. Accordingly, those applications are connected, and you can connect some other application also with Fusion applications and customizations. In case of ERP applications, customizations are possible. Okay, you can create some new pages or new reports, or you can create some integrations, interfaces also. You can establish the connectivity with other applications, that also falls under customization. And there will be single database. Okay, single database. If you take these two cycles, okay, here you can have, okay, right, 1 second. So all these applications data can be stored in the one database. Okay, all these applications data can be stored in the single database, and the client might be doing the business in multiple countries also. Country wise data can be segregated, and applications wise and the user wise and their branches wise, how exactly they are operating the business. Accordingly, data can be maintained in the single database in more secure manner. Okay, that is another point. And here, so business process can be automated. Okay, the business process can be automated. That means if you take example of P2P cycle, the based on the requisition, these things can be generated. Based on this information, purchase invoices can be generated. Based on purchase invoice, payment can be generated without entering any manual data. The process can be automated. Okay, so process can be automated. That is possible in ERP applications. Okay, along with that, so here if you look at ERP, the enterprise resource planning. Enterprise means organization, resource means men, material, machinery, and money. Okay, these all you can plan, and you can effectively you can use to run your organization. So these are the points we have to understand when you talk about ERP. Okay, when you talk about ERP, these are the points we have to understand. Right? So that's all about what is the meaning of ERP. ERP means that is software product where you can manage your day-to-day business transaction related business processes, and the applications what we get in ERP product or in software product, those are connected each other. There will be inbuilt integrations. If any other applications, if you want to connect, yes, you can establish those connectivity with the concept called as integrations. If anything you want to create as a new in those applications, that is possible if that is the ERP applications. And there will be single database, even if you are going to use that single instance for multiple countries. Okay, for one instance you can have only one database, single database. One instance can be used for multiple countries to manage the business data, and within that ERP, the business processes can be automated. Okay, communication, however, happens in real business in the same way. The data can flow from one application to another application. These are the points we have to discuss. Any questions on this, please? Now let's talk about how to create user Infusion applications. Okay. So when you get access to the fresh instances, Oracle provides one user. Ideally, that user credentials, the instance URL and the user credentials can be received by the client. Client may pass that information to our implementation team. Finally, we get those details. Then you can log into the instance with that user credentials. Ideally, we create our own user. Okay, we can proceed with the same user. Whatever the user Oracle is providing, yes, you can proceed with that and you can do all the setups. But when we talk about implementation, there will be multiple team members. Say one person will work for financials, or else if not one, maybe two people may work for financials. One person may be for SCM, another person may be for HCM. So different users, okay, required to work on the different applications. So for that reason, what we do is whatever the user Oracle is going to provide, with that we log into the instance, then we'll create our own user. Okay. Whatever the user we create initially in the instance, that user we call as implementation user. We call as implementation user. Okay, whatever the user we create, that user we call as implementation user. Let's create a user called as, for our testing purpose, we create a user called as Google. Okay, we're going to create a user called as Google. Okay, you will create a user. What that user can do? If you create just user, that user cannot do anything in the system, anything in the instance. The user required access to something. The user required certain privileges to work on the instance. Being an implementation user, that user required access to perform the setups. To give the full privileges to any implementation user, we have to assign two roles. What we have to assign? We have to assign the roles. Okay, we have a different type of roles. That different type of roles we'll discuss whenever those are required. For now, just remember roles we have to assign to the user. Typically, which roles we have to assign for implementation consultant related users. For any implementation consultant, whatever the user you are going to create, which roles we have to assign. The roles are application implementation consultant, and another role is IT security manager. These are the two roles we have to assign to the user, so that the user will have a privileges to work as a consultant. That means whatever access that consultant requires, that can be provisioned with these roles. What is the difference between these two roles? Okay, what is the difference between these two roles? If you assign, we have to assign these two roles to user. Okay, what we do? We assign. Follow the same terminology. Don't say we have to add. Okay, what is the terminology I'm using? Please remember and you use when we talk about the same. So we have to assign these two roles to this user. When we assign these two roles to this user, what this user will be able to do? Because of this application implementation consultant, this user can do the setups in the system. Okay, setups. You can call as a setups, or you can call as configuration. Okay, you can call as setups or configuration. Both are same. So what does it mean by setups or configuration? Say you want to use payables application. In the payables, you have to create the supplier, you have to create the bank accounts, you have to create few other setups which will support to create invoices and payments. In the same way in receivables and any application. If you want to use any application, you have to keep something is ready in that application. That only we call as setup. What exactly those, we'll see when we work on those. For now, just remember, by using application implementation consultant, you can do the setups. You can do the setups for which applications? Any application. Within that instance, what are the applications are available, you will be able to do the setups in that instance if you get access to application implementation consultant role. Application implementation consultant role will allow us to do any application related setups. Then what is the use of IT security manager role? Okay, what is the use of IT security manager role? The IT security manager role will help us to create new users. Create new users, and you can assign the roles to that users. Assign roles to users. This we can do from IT security manager. If you have access to IT security manager, you can create the new users from your user, and you can assign the roles to those users, any user. Okay. So these two roles we have to assign to our initial user, whatever we create, so that our user will have a full privileges to do the setup or to create the users, to assign the roles to those users. So this is the point we have to understand. And these two roles Oracle is providing. Okay, the two roles Oracle is providing. You can go to any instance and you can find that those two roles. So whatever the roles Oracle is providing, okay, those we call as seeded roles. Okay, what are the roles Oracle is providing in the instances, those we call as seeded roles. Okay, not only these two, for every application Oracle is providing the application specific roles also. Okay, any role you see in the instance, that role we call as seeded role. Seeded role means which comes along with the product instance. Okay, what are the roles Oracle is providing, those we call as seeded roles. As per our business requirement, we can create our own roles also. We can create new roles. If you create something new, that we call as customization. That means you can create our own roles, those we call as custom roles. We have one session how to understand how to create the custom roles also. So in that session, we'll understand how to create those. Here, take this simple point. Two roles we have to assign to the user. Those roles are application implementation consultant, IT security manager. What is the use of application implementation consultant role? With the help of this, you can do the setups, or you can say we can do the configuration. Other role is IT security manager. With this role, you can create new users and you can assign the roles to users. These two roles Oracle is providing. Whatever the roles Oracle is providing, those roles we call as seeded roles. Seeded roles means the roles which comes along with the product. So these are the points we have to understand. Any questions here, please? Any questions to understand these points, please?
And Lakshman, with this application implementation consultant, can we enter the transactions also, like create PO and all?
No, I mentioned clearly setups, only setups.
Okay.
You want to enter the transactions in accounts payable, AP. Now you have to assign AP roles to this user. Then only this user will be able to create the transactions for AP. Okay, transaction creation roles are different. This is for setup purpose.
And this role is similar to what we have responsibility in EBS?
Okay, this role is equal to what we have, see, that's different. In EBS, payables responsibility, receivables responsibility. Within that, we use main menu. Within that, you can have a submenus which will allow us to do the setup, right? This is equal to those.
Yes, Lakshman.
Okay, it is not exactly equal to something in the EBS. Wherever in which responsibility you do the setup part, okay, those all are equal to this single row. Yep.
Okay.
Right. Once we get into that application, once we get into the instance, once we start doing the setups, easily you will be able to correlate. Exact equal thing we don't have in EBS. Okay, if you want to do payable setups, you go to payable responsibility in EBS. If you want to do the receivable setups, you go to receivables responsibility. If you want to do the fixed asset setups, you have to go to fixed asset responsibility. But in the Fusion, if you want to do any setups, you no need to go here and there. Just go to application implementation consultant role. Even you no need to go. If you assign, there will be separate page. From single page, you can do any application related setup. That means a centralized environment. They have a centralized setup environment. Any application setups, if you want to do, you can do with the help of application implementation consultant role. That's how we have. Okay. Fine. Okay.
Oh, okay, Lakshmi.
Yeah. Any other questions here, please? No questions. So then we can wind up for today. So tomorrow session, what we'll do? We'll see how to create the user, how to assign the roles, and what is the meaning of FSM, and we'll proceed with FSM related discussions. Okay, so we're done for today. If you have any questions, you can stay back so that we can discuss. If you don't have any questions, you may drop from the meeting. Thank you all. Have a good day and good night. See you tomorrow.
Yeah, hi Lakshman. There is some question I have.
Please. Please, any
Actually, I have a question from last sessions. Like one thing you discussed about big servers, and with the help of big servers, Oracle provides some virtual servers to their clients, right?
Yeah, in case of cloud, if you take the cloud subscription, if you take the subscription from Oracle, you get virtual servers. Okay, you get virtual servers
So,
from Oracle. Within that, you will have a product and you can use it. That's what we discussed. What is your question?
so big server is a physical hardware, or it is also a virtual server, or who is the owner of this big server? Oracle itself?
No.
I mean,
Oracle,
how many big servers?
what Oracle does is they use very big machines, big servers. By using that big servers, by using the concept called as virtualization, okay, by using the virtualization concept, one big server, depending on the server size and the capabilities, it will create number of virtual servers. All the virtual servers are supported by that big server. We'll get access to that virtual servers only. The product what we are discussing based on our subscription, those applications would be available in our virtual server. Always will connect to that virtual server only. Okay, we never connected to the physical servers which are managed by Oracle. So we connect to the virtual servers and we'll use these virtual servers to record our business transactions and all. Always these virtual servers are supported by big servers. This is how it works in cloud.
So all our data will be stored on our virtual servers only.
Yeah,
right?
in virtual server only. Yes, virtual server.
And that virtual server will have its own memory, CPU, space and everything in its own.
No, can you repeat loud?
Yeah, I'm asking, but every virtual server will have its own memory, storage space, and CPU or
Exactly.
parts.
Yes, you are right. Yeah. So since this is dedicated virtual server for us, okay, this is a dedicated virtual server. For every client, they'll provide dedicated virtual server, separate virtual server. So within that, the name and all, the server name and everything, yes, they'll give separately for us. Okay. And for that virtual server, there will be separate database, not shared database. For virtual server, there will be separate virtual database they'll provide. It would be completely for specific client only. This cannot be shared with other clients. It is for only one client.
Okay, so configuration will depend on their charges, like.
Sorry?
Configuration of that virtual server will depend on the charges paid to Oracle. Maybe some high, maybe some low charges. So they can upgrade the configuration of this virtual server, or they can degrade the virtual
what subscription they are taking. Okay. What subscription they are taking. Okay. SaaS or PaaS, depending on that.
Okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
Another question I have, like you explained, in the purchase department, if goods are received by inventory and it is updated to purchase department, so the purchase payables department has to make the payment to the supplier. For that, they generate purchase invoice. I think purchase invoice should not be generated. It is purchase invoice is supplied by the supplier only. So why do we need to generate a purchase invoice at our own?
Yeah, I'll tell you. See, we received 10 quantity. Okay,
Yeah.
we received 10 quantity. So now I received invoice from supplier with 20 quantity. Now, are you going to pay for 20 quantity?
If we get an invoice for 20 quantity, we may pay in two ways, either part payment or full payment.
No, that's wrong. That's completely wrong. See here, try to understand. We received 10 quantity, but invoice received for 20 quantity, which is true, which is correct.
No, invoice should be only for 10 quantity. That is wrong. 20 is wrong.
Yeah. That is the reason. You may get invoice more than what's the actual quantity what you have to receive invoice. That is the reason. Always we cross check with our records. We received for 10 quantity, we have to pay for 10 quantity, we'll create the purchase invoice. During the purchase invoice, we'll verify with invoice quantity also. Supplier sent invoice for how much quantity, we cross check, but we don't take that information to create invoice. With the reference we'll take. I'll show you the in P2P cycle, you will understand that. See, when we explain this, we cannot go into details of how we do the matching, etc. Okay, here simple point we can take. So based on the GRN, we create purchase invoice. That is true. When you create the invoice based on the GRN, we have to consider supplier invoice also. That in details also, few details will enter if it is matching. If the supplier invoice information is matching with our GRN information, yes, purchase invoice will get created. Otherwise, the process will get stuck. Then we'll talk to the supplier, we'll inform. We received only 10 quantity, you sent invoice for 20 quantity, what's wrong with that? Then they'll say maybe by mistake, etc. In that case, we do correction and we'll create invoice with 10 quantity, the purchase invoice will create. That I'll explain in the PPT. If you want to understand the very detailed level of the process, yes, you will see when we are working. But here process wise, typically invoice we create based on what we purchase. Say you went to shop, you purchase for 1,000 rupees. When you purchase for 1,000 rupees, are you going to wait to hear from that shop owner how much he is going to say, or you are planning to pay for 1,000? You pay 1,000 only. If they say something else, then there will be discussion. That's different. Okay. We purchase for 10 quantity, we have to pay 10. Accordingly, we create invoice. If there is some issue with the supplier invoice, we talk to them and we'll fix it. Ideally, we receive 10, we pay 10. That's all.
And sometimes it happens like, you have to make sometimes advance payment to the supplier.
No, one second. Now, let's not get into the discussions related to this. When we are working on the process, yes, we can spend enough time. Because for everything, I cannot show proof here, right? Since you are asking to know this is not the time to understand those. We will work on the P2P. I'll create invoice with receipt, with purchase order. Okay, then you can ask me how this you are doing, this is how it happens. Then I can explain and I can show the proof. But now just understand this flow. So when we reach that stage, yes, you can raise a number of questions. I will resolve all those. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Fine. Thank you.
Then my question is also regarding this P2P cycle.
Yep.
Why don't accounts receivable is not involved in P2P cycle? Because once we make the purchases and everything, we have to deliver that product to the customer, right?
Correct.
So in that stage, receivables has to be involved, right? Why it's not in P2P?
P2P, how? Like we are purchasing and paying. Receivables is different.
We are not delivering to customer.
Okay.
Sir, can you repeat?
No, what I'm saying is P2P means you are purchasing and paying. When you are purchasing and paying, why sales is involved here? Okay. Sales, receivables department is involved when you sell to the customer. That's all.
So in P2P, you are not selling, you are just buying from the supplier. That's
And
it.
you are paying, that's it. Buying and
Oh,
that we call as P2P cycle. Okay, if you include the receivables also in the P2P cycle, you have to give some new name. We don't know that. What is the name? Yeah,
no.
that's what. Okay, understand this is as a P2P. It's not like no chance to mix one application and another process. So this is how real actual business takes place. Based on that only Oracle decided. As per their applications, these are called as the P2P and O2C cycles.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, seems to no questions, then that's all for today. We'll connect tomorrow. In tomorrow's session, what we are going to do is we'll start working on the instance to see how to create the user, how to assign the roles, and what is FSM. With the FSM, what we can do within the instance. We'll go through all those points in tomorrow's session. Yeah. So, yeah. Yes, please.
When can we expect the instance access?
Once we start working on the instance, you can get instance access.
Okay.
Yeah. Tomorrow we are going to connect to the instance and we'll see how to create a user and all. At the same time, you need instance access for practice, right? You will get access to instance from tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. No questions. Yeah.